The winter night was cruel. The city streets glistened with rain, and a bitter wind scraped along the sidewalks where hurried strangers passed without ever looking up. In the corner of a bus stop, under the faint glow of a flickering street lamp, sat a young woman huddled in a thin, tattered coat. Her name was Emily. She had once been a nurse, a woman whose hands saved lives and whose heart overflowed with compassion. But tonight, those same hands trembled against the cold, clutching an empty coffee cup she had used to beg for spare change. Her life had not always been this way. Just months ago, Emily was working long shifts at the hospital, caring for patients with tireless dedication. She was the kind of nurse who remembered every patient's name, who stayed past her shift to hold a frightened hand, who whispered words of comfort to families who had almost lost hope. But fate had been merciless. A medical accident during surgery, one she wasn't even directly responsible for, led to a patient's death. Though she had followed every protocol, the hospital needed someone to blame, and Emily's name was the one written on the report. She lost her license, her job, and in the avalanche that followed, she lost her apartment too. With no family to lean on, she drifted, her days becoming a blur of searching for food and trying to keep warm at night. But what hurt her most wasn't the hunger or the cold. It was the silence of being invisible. Thousands of people walked by her every day, their eyes fixed on their phones, their ears plugged with music. To them, she was no one, a ghost sitting on the pavement. Emily used to heal wounds, but now, she carried invisible scars that no one cared to notice. That night, as the rain began to fall harder, Emily pulled her knees to her chest and tried to block out the ache of loneliness. She whispered softly, as though to remind herself she still existed. "I just want a chance, just one chance to start over." At that very moment, a black luxury car rolled up to the curb not far from where she sat. The car's door opened, and a tall man stepped out, his presence commanding without him saying a word. His name was Daniel Hayes. A name the city knew well. He was a man whose face often appeared on business magazines with headlines like "The Relentless Visionary" or "The Single Father Who Built an Empire." Daniel wasn't just wealthy. He was powerful, respected and feared in boardrooms. But beneath that polished exterior, he carried a different story, one hidden from the glossy covers. Daniel was a single father. His wife had passed away 5 years ago, leaving him to raise his little daughter, Lily, alone. To the outside world, Daniel was iron-willed, unshakable, the very image of success. But at home, when the boardroom lights dimmed, he was simply a man trying to be both father and mother to a child who missed her mother every night. His empire of steel and glass skyscrapers meant little compared to the soft laughter of his little girl. Lily was his anchor, the only reason he hadn't lost himself entirely to grief. As Daniel stepped out of the car, ready to head into a late meeting, his eyes caught sight of Emily. She sat curled up against the rain, her lips pale, her hands shivering. Something inside him stirred. He had seen the homeless before. They lined the streets in every city he traveled to. But there was something different about her. Maybe it was the way she tried to sit upright, holding on to her dignity despite her circumstances. Or maybe it was the quiet despair in her eyes, the kind of pain that mirrored the one he once saw in the mirror after his wife's death. For reasons he couldn't explain, Daniel paused. He turned away from the shining lobby of his company headquarters and walked toward her. Emily, sensing someone near, lifted her head. When her eyes met his, she felt both fear and confusion. Men in expensive suits rarely stopped for people like her. "Are you all right?" Daniel asked, his voice steady but softer than she expected. Emily blinked at him, unsure how to answer. No one had asked her that in months. She wanted to say, "No, I'm not all right. I'm freezing, I'm hungry, and I feel like I've disappeared from the world." But all she managed was a shaky nod. "I'll be fine." Daniel frowned. He could see she was anything but fine. His instincts as a businessman told him not to get involved. Emotions were messy, dangerous, a distraction. But his instincts as a father, as a man who had once felt the crushing weight of helplessness, urged him otherwise. "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" he asked. Her silence was answer enough. Daniel exhaled slowly, torn between logic and compassion. Then he heard Lily's voice echo in his memory. Her innocent words from just the other night. "Daddy, why can't we help people who don't have a home? Mommy used to say kindness makes the world warmer." His decision was made. "Come with me," Daniel said firmly. Emily's eyes widened. "What?" "Come home with me. You can't stay out here in this weather. I won't leave you like this. Her heart pounded. She didn't know whether to trust him. She had seen the worst of people while on the streets. Cruelty, indifference, even danger. But something in his tone, in the steady way he looked at her, told her this man meant what he said. Still, she hesitated. Why would you do that? You don't even know me? Daniel's gaze softened. Because someone once did it for me. And because my little girl needs to see the world isn't as cold as it seems. For the first time in months, warmth spread across Emily's chest. She nodded slowly, almost as if afraid the moment would vanish if she moved too fast. Minutes later, she found herself inside the luxury car, the leather seats too soft beneath her weary body. She felt out of place, like a broken piece dropped into a perfect puzzle. But Daniel said nothing more, giving her the dignity of silence. When they arrived at his home, a sprawling estate on the edge of the city, Emily's breath caught. It was beautiful, almost unreal. Yet she didn't feel envy. She felt a strange kind of fear, as though stepping inside would reveal how different she was from everything in this world. But then, as the front door opened, a small figure ran out. Lily, with her dark curls bouncing, threw herself into her father's arms. "Daddy?" she squealed. Then her curious eyes landed on Emily. "Who's that?" Daniel crouched beside his daughter, holding her tiny hand. "This is Emily. She's going to stay with us for a while." Emily swallowed hard, her throat tight. She didn't know what to say. But Lily, in the unfiltered way only children had, smiled and reached for Emily's hand. "Hi, Emily. You look cold. Do you want my blanket?" Tears stung Emily's eyes. That simple gesture, offered so freely by a child, pierced through months of loneliness. She managed a trembling smile. "Thank you, sweetheart." That night, as Emily lay in a warm guest room bed for the first time in what felt like forever, she whispered into the quiet, "Thank you, God, maybe this is my chance." What she didn't know was that her presence would soon change Daniel's life just as much as his kindness had changed hers. For sometimes the people we rescue end up rescuing us in ways we never expected. And so began a story of healing, of second chances, and of love born not from perfection, but from brokenness made whole again.